Hi, I'm Justin, and this is Ned, and we're here from Deeds Brewing, and we're here to talk about the beer that we made for the Carwyn Collaborational Festival. We collaborated this go around with a brewery called Outer Range. They're based out of Frisco in Colorado, just outside of Denver. And I was lucky enough 2 years ago when I went to the Craft Brew Conference in Denver to get a chance to go out and see the brewery. And I was lucky enough to meet the owners and the brewers and probably buy way too much of their beer that I then drank for most of that weekend. And it was exciting for us to meet them and to taste their beers. They primarily focus on hazier beers, so very similar to some of the products we release here at Deeds. And they also do quite a few Belgian style ales, which I hope we'll be doing here soon at Deeds. In spending time with them, and while I was over there, we ended up coming back, and there was a bit of an email exchange back and forth. And now that we come up to the Carwyn Collaborational Festival, it was just awesome that they agreed to be a part of it with us. When Ben Carwyn and Ben Duval approached us about doing a beer for the festival, they were at the top of my list, and it was just great that we got to do it. In the end, this is our second collaboration with them. We did one of them earlier in the year, and now we came together this time around to do this beer. So the beer itself is called Daughters of Neptune. It's a hazy double IPA, and I'm going to let Ned talk about the recipe and the collaboration itself. So.
Yeah, thanks, JC. So the recipe for this one was a bit of a back and forth via Zoom. It was a lot of fun to talk with them about how they approach recipe development. Being one of the really sort of cutting edge, up and coming, call them a bit of a sleeper in the hazy IPA scene in the States at the moment. So it was great to sort of back and forth on that one. Some of their ideas were really cool and sort of different to what we would normally do, or the kind of vein that we normally sort of take. Yeah. And then I think that we probably offered a kind of a few things into how they normally approach things as well. But so Daughters of Neptune, 9% hazy dipper, as JC said. It does have a touch of lactose in this one, but it was it's got a firm bitterness. We targeted about 60 IBUs, which is definitely on the higher end for us. A base malt for this one's Golden Promise, which we absolutely love, and we don't use a hell of a lot, but we really enjoy its profile. And then quite a bit of rolled oats and malted oats and just a touch of wheat. But the hops are really, being a hazy IPA, that's a showcase. So we went with HBA 16 and Citra Cryo. So the Daughters of Neptune, it's a bit of an interesting story behind that name. In Roman times, they would, as a rite of passage, or hoping for safe passage across the sea as they were conquering the world and sailing, they would pay a tribute or to the god of Neptune for safe passage. And once they crossed the equator, they would then be dubbed as sons or daughters of Neptune. Neptune being the god of the fresh water and sea. This virtual collaboration was really, we wanted to try and take it a little bit further in these times, and we thought that the best way to do that was to try and have some kind of exchange of hops, and that's how HBA 16 and the Citra Cryo sort of came to be the selection for this one, being that the HPA experimental variety was very difficult to get in the States, and the Citra Cryo is personally selected by Outer Range, as they're in the States, and they're very fortunate to select their own lot of Citra and have that processed at the YCH cryo plant.
Dream,
So-
right? To select your own lot.
Yeah, I mean, as an Australian brewery, that absolutely is a dream. And there's only sort of a certain amount of hops that are dedicated to the Australian market. So to be able to select your own is really quite special.
It's like selecting your own field.
That's right. So the lots are, thank you. So the lots are, it's basically like, you know, when you think of making wine, you know, people talk about the terroir, but it's the land, it's the place, it's the sense of place. You know, the aspect of the field or the vineyard, the slope, the rainfall, the climate, even, you know, the position on the equator, that kind of thing plays a really big part in the flavour profile of the grape. And it does with the hops as well. Even, you know, from lot to lot. So in hop growing regions, further down the road, the hops can be quite different. So Citra is not always the same, and so it's absolutely wonderful to be able to
Try hand
to-
select a lot.
hand selected. This is what our friends at Outer Range chose and picked as their very favourite out of the lots that they were able to do a sensory on. So yeah, so we posted them a bunch of HPA 16 and they posted us a bunch of Citra Cryo, and yeah, that's the story.
And here we are.
So Daughters of Neptune. Oh, and the last thing is that the hop cones themselves are from a female plant of hops. So that's why it's Daughters of Neptune.
Because they both cross the equator at almost the same time.
Yeah.
So, anyway, cheers, Ned.
Cheers. Cheers, mate.
And cheers.
Yeah, so HPA 16s are really, it's a really interesting new Australian variety, which will be launched with its official name not long after the collaborational festival takes place. Yeah, but getting huge, like this beer itself has I'm getting a lot of candied orange and a bit of sort of bitter, like little bit of sort of juicy, bitter citrus pith as well.
It's like a marmalade and that distinctive kind of, you know, Citra Cryo it's just such an interesting twist on the Citra flavor, you know? It
Yeah.
just gives it kind of a bit punchier.
Yeah, it's like quite very tropical, very fruit forward. The cryo,
Yeah.
less. There's a little bit of sort of pine in there as well.
Yeah.
I get quite a bit of candy sort of flavors like musk sticks. But yeah, again the assertive bitterness coming through, the sort of 50 to 60 IBU range for us is
It's a bit high.
yeah, it's on the higher end for us, but I think it plays beautifully. You know,
Yeah.
it's nice to have something that's a bit different and not just in the NEPA vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels more like what I would call a hazy IPA
Yeah,
than a New England style,
yeah,
which given their geographical position kind of out the west, it kind of makes sense to me. So.
yeah,
I like
absolutely.
Absolutely. What would
Yeah.
you pair this with, Ned?
Oh, thank you for asking, Justin.
yeah, I'm sure.
This I'm getting a lot of the sort of the juicy, sweet. There's a bit of bitterness in there as well. I think this would pair beautifully with Asian cuisine.
Oh, yeah.
And particularly some really classic traditional Asian dishes such as lemon chicken, or maybe, you know, your Springvale dumplings, or
Oh, dumplings.
yeah.
Oh.
But I mean, you know, if you want to go the higher end, I'd say the green lipped abalone.
It's spectacular. Well, I hope you learned a little bit about the beer and what we put into it. We're very excited about it, and I hope that you like the taste of it. It's special to be, invited into this collaboration, and we're honored to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
And it was a big honor for us to be able to collaborate with someone like Outer Range. I'm excited to say that they will also be releasing the beer in Colorado.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Same recipe.
Yeah.
With their Citra Cryo and the HBA 16 hops that we sent up there.
So pretty neat if you think about it, for us especially, to see that Deeds logo and that Deeds input into a beer in the American market. Very exciting for us.
It's very humbling humbling indeed.
So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the beer, and
hopefully the next Carwyn collaboration we'll be able to celebrate and enjoy another collaborational beer in person.
Absolutely.
Next year.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.